Thank you very much. I haven't done anything yet. My name is Rob, and I'm going to be the MC for the evening. Thank you. This is an easy crowd. This is going to be brilliant. You know, we've all had the ceremony, but now we've got the part of the day we've really been looking forward to, the speeches. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to the father of the bride, Captain Ian Evans.
All right, so welcome one and all of you on this joyful occasion aboard this flight, which with a bit of imagination could be to the Caribbean, Mexico, Canada. I am your captain, Ian Evans, of Debussy Airlines Flight 001. So, sit back and relax and fully enjoy the experience. Keith has everything ready, and we're ready for pushback. Fantastic. Refreshments served. We're sourced from the Champagne region of the France and delivered here carefully by Debussy Transport Services. That is that. Now, I wish to thank all of you for coming today, and some of you from far and wide to make Rosie and Ewan's day a day to remember. Those from further afield are the Arthur family contingent from Scotland. Yes. Kevin and Jacqueline from France. And the Warburtons, Dave and Chris from the mountains of southern France. The Harts, Francis and Satu from Finland. And then from Florida, we have Benjamin and Carly. And a very big surprise for Ewan, Keith and Christine. Deborah has come in from Florida as a big surprise. Keith's daughter and husband Gary, keeping her company. From Australia we have sister Robin. Yay! Another lovely surprise, but not entirely. It couldn't be kept that way because there was too much to. And last but not least, also from Australia, Lindy, Rosie's elder sister, who managed to come as well, fortunately, to make Rosie's day. There she is, yes. Incidentally, Rosie was a flower girl at Lindy's wedding 25 years ago. She was aged just three. At this point, I would ask you to remember all of those family, friends, and Rosie's dear Nan, who only passed away last year, aged 97 and a half. She would have loved to have been here with Rosie today. So please, would you rise and toast? Absent family, friends, and Nan. Happy family, friends, and Nan. Get there. Good. Okay. So far, so good. Yeah. Right. So far, so good. Yeah.
Very good.
That's exercise. You can sit down again now. I ain't done yet. Buckle up, yes. Good idea. Now to our stunningly beautiful bride. I'm sure you will all agree. We are enormously proud of her. We really are. What a joy to see her now in full bloom. Yet it wasn't always quite like that. I remember when Nikki and I brought this little bundle home to us one cold December day. The years we have, my goodness rather, she has changed since then. The years we shared whilst she grew up were memorable, often for very different reasons. She was a very smiley, cheerful little soul, but this did not completely cover the mischievousness that lurked within. I will share a couple of anecdotes with you. One Sunday morning, we were relaxing in bed with a wake-up cup of tea when we realized it was really rather quiet. I was dispatched to investigate, only to find this little one in the middle of the lounge floor with Mummy's makeup bag emptied around her, and in her little hand she had a crimson stick of lipstick. I aghast initially, because she'd obviously paid particular attention to Mum's makeup routine. She had diligently applied said lipstick to her lips, and just for good measure, to the rest of her face. On another Sunday, again, too quiet, investigation required. To lay the scene, from an early age, Rosie has had a fairly, shall we say, a short, comfortable interval between meals. Little Miss E gets progressively from happy to moody. And so please, Ewan, accept a little advice from me. It's not much, but feed her often enough, or you'll find a very cantankerous wife on your hands. So, back to Sunday. I came to the kitchenette to find Rosie sitting on the floor, surrounded by the contents of the cornflakes packet, the puffed wheat packet, stuffing her little face with a gleeful expression. That's our Rosie. She doesn't go well without having a little bit of sustenance. It was a great relief that Lucy and our Rosie got on so well together. Right the way from they were very small, they've always been the best of friends. And they are to this day, and I'm sure it will continue for the years ahead. Ewan might get in the way a little bit, but they will always have a wonderful relationship. School and university days were clearly a success, as she's gone on to make great strides in her work, initially at STA, and then presently at TripAdvisor. And you'll see their little notices all over the world. And clearly gets on well with her colleagues while quietly climbing the ladder. Her boss is listening, so I won't say any more. Then, guess what? She found this delightful young man one day. She made sure he noticed her and captured his heart. It didn't take long for them to realize they were kindred souls. How delightfully, absolutely wonderful. They have certainly been taking life by the scruff of the neck. For instance, an adventure through Europe down to the Amalfi Coast on their motorcycles, doing, 4,000 miles? Yes. And I have done many other trips here and there and everywhere, virtually. We're gradually getting to know the Boozies. And very happy to be integrating with his lovely family. Thank you, they are. To Christine and Keith. Lovely, lovely people. And all the rest of their kindred souls. So the time has come to please rise and raise your glasses to Ewan and Rosie, wishing them lots of love and happiness. And may I say, the patter of little feet. Mum will be over the moon. The mums will be over the moon. Yes. Rosie and Ewan. Cheers.
Thank you. That was
So, before we hear from the groom himself, I've got a few words for you, and I'd like to begin by congratulating the new Mr. and Mrs. Boozy. I bet that Rosie would have never seen herself committing her life to a small, territorial, fluffy little fellow. But that's enough about her dog Ralph. She's also married Ewan today. And she's become a Boozy in the process. And that's important for her to note, actually, and I've got a little story about that. Because once, when Rosie was a little worse for wear, she found herself in a medical tent, and a medic asked her to spell out her second name. As he was reading Evans off of her name badge, she was spelling out C-E-C-I. So the increasingly alarmed chap was looking at her, thinking, good God, she's delirious. But Rosie, in a very rosy way, had thought that her second name meant her middle name, which is Cecile, if anyone didn't hear in the ceremony earlier. Anyway, that new name, Boozy. I remember that well from the first time I met Ewan. I was at work, and this new guy was sat on the desk next to mine. He was on the phone to a high net worth investor pitching for their hard-earned savings. I distinctly remember him saying, yes, that's boozy, as in drunk. And as Rosie herself becomes a Boozy, it's important to reflect on the meaning of a name. I'm sure that you're all familiar with the idea of nominative determinism. It's such an affliction, it even has a title. It's when your name determines your path in life. One of the top law lords in our House of Lords was born Mr. Judge and is now known as Lord Judge. There's an eminent neuroscientist, also knighted, known as Lord Brain. There's even a Belgian defensive midfielder known as Mark de Man. I promise I'm not making any of those up. So with that in mind, what hope do the new Mr. and Mrs. Boozy have? I shouldn't be too mean because there are a lot of Boozies here this evening. But at least none of them are going to remember this tomorrow. Anyway, I'm not going to stand and embarrass you much further by telling stories about past indiscretions and moments he'd rather forget. That'll be his wonderful best man Tommy's job later this evening. Instead, I'm going to do something much more embarrassing for an English couple, and I'm going to be nice about them. I'm able to do this because I've been in the fortunate position to see their entire relationship unfold. I worked with Ewan before he met Rosie. My wife and I were living with Ewan when he did meet Rosie. We've lived with them as a couple, we've been on holiday together, and we've probably spent more time together than is healthy. So before I'm nice about them, I've got a few more stories that we need to cover. So let me take you back to one of their very first dates. We were in our flat cooking a roast dinner, and it was a Sunday. Ewan had invited Rosie to join us. Rosie lived an hour away, and she was a bit unsure about doing the 2-hour round trip, but Ewan was quite excited that she might join us. Rosie was on the phone, and to try and make her mind up, said, "I'll come if you've got Yorkshire puddings." Quick as a flash, Ewan responded, "Of course we've got Yorkshire puddings." We had no Yorkshire puddings. It was when Ewan called, when he was jogging between the 5th and the 6th shop of the day, still empty-handed, asking if there was another Sainsbury's somewhere up near London Bridge, that I realised two things. One, that Ewan must really like Rosie. And two, that Rosie must really like Yorkshire puddings. And it sounds, from her dad's speech, like that's not far off of the truth. But it went well. The Yorkshires were found and the relationship flourished. On to another early date, one of the first times that Rosie had stayed in the flat. It was the middle of the night and Rosie popped to the loo. She got completely locked in. The door was definitely unlocked, but it just wouldn't open. Eventually, she tried calling out for Ewan to come and rescue her. But Ewan didn't come. She was pushing and pushing on the door, until eventually it slid gently to one side. It was a sliding door, much as it had been moments earlier when she'd entered and slid it closed behind her. And then there was the time that Ewan bought the tiny furniture. We were moving into a new flat, and we'd splashed out, and it was a pretty big flat. Unfurnished though, but this was no problem for Ewan. He was trying to make the room nice so that Rosie would want to move in. He went the whole hog. He went on eBay and ordered online a 3-piece wardrobe, chest of drawers, and matching bedside tables. Ewan sat there and diligently constructed a door when it arrived, before he started looking round for the next flat-packed box. He was disappointed. The drawer was in fact the entire frame of the wardrobe. And this still makes me laugh thinking of Ewan trying to construct this furniture. The wardrobe was so small that the hangers had to go in facing towards you. The thing wasn't deep enough to take a coat hanger. When you did turn it towards you, the whole unit was about the width of one coat hanger. When they bought their new place, Ewan didn't buy any of the furniture online. But I said that I was going to be nice, and now I have to be. There's one capacity in which Ewan and Rosie are utterly matched, and that's their ability to fall asleep anywhere. I've known house parties come to a standstill because they've dozed off together in the bathroom. And that may not, on the face of it, sound romantic, but hear me out. Because when you do actually manage to open a bathroom door from the outside, using a screwdriver to remove the lock, and you see a couple so utterly content in one another's company that they've fallen fast asleep on the floor together inside, the heart melts. And when you know that they've repeated the trick at a family party on a squash court, the heart has to positively melt. Because a squash court is the one place on earth that is less comfortable than a bathroom floor. The floor of a squash court is specifically designed to be as hard, as unyielding as possible. Designers go to great lengths to ensure a sufficient rigidity and absence of any sort of give. So to contemplate the fact that we have here a couple who are so content in one another's arms that they could fall fast asleep on such a surface is really to understand the nature of their relationship. We've all heard the phrase that I could be anywhere if I'm with you, but never have those words meant as much as they do between Ewan and Rosie. Few mean it when the rubber meets the road, when the buttock meets the squash court. But for Ewan and Rosie, the words are literally true, and I can think of no finer expression of their love, their devotion to one another, than that. Thank you very much. Could I have everyone's attention, please? There's someone who'd like to have a quick word. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Rob. And thank you to Ian. I thought those were wonderful speeches. I thought they were much better than what we can do. So why don't we just leave it there? It's very positive. We don't need any lies, deceit, or exaggerated stories from the stag do. I think we can just... No? All right. Okay. I'll say thank you to all of you for making such a long journey. A lot of you, particularly Deborah and Gary, who've surprised me today. That's... Yeah, you've blown... Yeah. It's so good. Thank you so much. Robin as well has flown in from Australia. And that's amazing. Thank you so much. You're probably all wondering why we've dragged you all the way down here. Apart from the stunning venue, I mean, the only other reason is I went to university in Bournemouth. But, I mean, the two places aren't really that similar at all. Bournemouth has struggled with homelessness and rough sleeping in the past, and the only time Kimmeridge is going to come close to that is tonight, when you realise how far the hotels are from here. I'm sorry, it was a Norwegian walking group in, and they took the lot, so hope that's okay. I want to just say a big thank you to my ushers, particularly Tommy and my best man, who've done an incredible job today. I think you'll all agree. Exactly. Yeah, it's not always easy with this many people, making sure everyone knows what to do and where to be.
you've got Scots, you've got the Scousers. I mean, it's difficult, and you've done a great job. I would say I'd expect nothing less, but I'm really surprised it's gone well, so thank you so much. Not to be outshone, of course, the bridesmaids have done an incredible job. They've made sure Rosie's fed, watered, and upright all day. If only you could do the same for the houseplants, but you know, it doesn't matter. Thank you to the bridesmaids. I knew we were in good hands with Laura, Charlotte, Georgie, Kate, and obviously the amazing Lucy when I saw the amount of effort you put into the hen do to make it the best. I don't know if you guys know this, but Rosie was able to fulfill a lifelong dream and play the female lead from Dirty Dancing. Yeah, she was even able to dance with Patrick Swayze, the male stripper, who, he apparently he'd come completely unprepared for a slightly chilly evening outside. No shirt, no shoes, no moral compass. In fact, at one point, he got so cold, he asked the future bride if she would join him in the nearby spa facilities. Thankfully, they were on hand. They said, nobody puts baby in the sauna. So, I haven't got a glass. I'd like to raise a toast to the bridesmaids. I just need to get my glass. Thanks very much. To the bridesmaids. Right. Okay. Well done. Oh, and particularly to Lucy as well for the amazing song in the ceremony. That was absolutely incredible. As you know, I couldn't make eye contact with you because I had to look at Jonah. So, thank you so much, girls. And I'd like to now talk about my marvellous parents. Mum and Dad, you've done an incredible job of raising Robin and I. I know you're going to say it was a walk in the park for me, with me versus Robin. Probably agree with that, but you know, if you look at the fruits of your labour have clearly paid off. She's an Oxford graduate, a tireless campaigner for women's rights, and she's married a professor of French literature. What a turnaround from the early teenage years. And I'd like to say, no, it's a testament to our parents. What about you, Robin? Mum, we have so much to look up to in you. From your unwavering selflessness, your determination to think positively, and your ability to find humour in all situations. Whenever we did something wrong or stupid as children, which usually had expensive consequences, your first thought would always be to how we can solve the problem. It would never be to lay blame or guilt, always thinking positively. And as I grow older, I realise what a strength that is. So thank you so much. Dad, I think it's fair to say you've always been the softer parent. Would you agree? Yeah. Nothing makes you happier than to make sure that we're all cared for and fed. Cared for, and even when we don't deserve it. Right. I'm thinking of the time where you had to come all the way to Aylesbury. You drove all the way to Aylesbury because I'd lost my car keys and we had no way of getting home. And no sooner had I told you that we were stuck, you were saying, no, don't worry, son, I'm on my way. And you can't buy that kind of love. And if I could, I'd have to save up for a very long time. So. Anyway, moving on to my brand new in-laws, Nikki and Ian. Where's Ian? There he is. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your family with open arms right from the start. As you know, Rosie and I have been pretty serious right from day one, and I always knew this was the kind of family that I wanted to marry into. Nikki, I've always loved your sense of humour and your amazing cooking even. Cooking. Thankfully, you've... Perfect. Glad you